Civil rights icon Reverend James Lawson, celebrating his life and legacy. He was a leading theologian and tactician of nonviolence within the civil rights movement in the United States. Recruited by Martin Luther King, he was a minister who trained many activists in nonviolence resistance, including Diane Nash, Marion Barry, Representative John Lewis, Bernard Lafayette, and James Bevel. Celebrating the life and legacy of civil rights icon, the Reverend James Lawson.
It is such a joy to join in as our United Methodist Men of Holmen UMC, CalPAC Annual Conference, and the entire Western jurisdiction pay tribute to Reverend Dr. James Lawson by awarding him the Society of John Wesley Fellowship Award. Jim is a living legend in our world, and we here in CalPAC are so proud to call him our own. Even in retirement, Jim continues to preach, to teach, and to volunteer for causes big and small. He's the epitome of what a role model is for all of us. Jim is such a bright star that continues to shine and whose light cannot be exhausted. Congratulations, Jim, and continue to get into good trouble. You role model that for all of us. Blessings.
Greetings. I am Ken Walden, the senior pastor of Holmen United Methodist Church, located in the city of Los Angeles, California. Reverend Lawson served as senior pastor of Holmen Church from 1974 to 1999. For 25 years, he gave creative and effective pastoral leadership, and we are all fortunate to have him continue to serve in his current role as pastor emeritus. I am happy to congratulate Reverend Lawson on receiving the Legacy of Leadership Award given by the Western jurisdiction of the United Methodist Men. I am proud he continues to serve our congregation, our country, and our world in meaningful ways, working toward justice and equality for all people. On a personal note, I am glad to call him a mentor and a friend. May God continue to bless Reverend Lawson and the work of the United Methodist Men.
Hello, this is Joseph Gambrell. I'm a member of Holmen since 1976. I'd like to say a few words about Reverend James M. Lawson Jr. as he receives the Wesley Award. When I moved to Los Angeles in 1976, it took me over a year to find a church that I was comfortable with. I church shopped. When I walked into Holmen and Reverend Lawson was in the pulpit, I immediately felt that I had found the right church. I did not know anything about Reverend Lawson at the time or about his past, but every minister has their own style. Some are singers, some are loud and yell. Reverend Lawson's style was that of a teacher. He was quiet, he was subdued. He certainly knew the subject matter well and had done his research. And when the sermon was over and you were driving home, you had new information to digest and work on. I appreciate Reverend Lawson's past history, his involvement in the civil rights movement, his involvement in the non-violent struggle, but it's also his involvement in multiple battles for human rights and civil rights, whether it be the farm workers or the hotel workers in Los Angeles. Reverend Lawson has been in the forefront and has been an asset not only to Holmen, but the community as a whole and the nation at large. So I congratulate him on receiving this Wesley Award. It is certainly well-deserved, and I think past due. So Reverend Lawson, keep on keeping on. Thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Treasure Owens, the founder of Powers Women's Network, founded in 1999, women's organization set to empower women and to help them guide them through their business and employee retention, development, as well as financial literacy and self-care. Reverend Lawson, it is an honor for me to be able to say from Powers Women's Network, congratulations on this prestigious award. Thank you for being a true leader and visionary in our community and in our world. Thank you for the guidance that you have given so many of our great leaders that we stand on the shoulders of today. And again, congratulations from Powers Women's Network to you, Reverend James Lawson.
Hello, good afternoon. This is Richard Yergin III reporting live. I want to give a special thank you to Reverend James Lawson for his continual fight towards social injustices during his time with Martin Luther King and serving with other civil rights activist leaders in a very peaceful way to provide a platform. Your legacy speaks for itself and all the work that you've done. I can only aspire to inspire such as you have. And it's amazing to me to see the work that you've done, the people that you have positioned yourself to help, and the people who kind of look to you as that iconic figure. And so now, as I begin to utilize my influence and I begin to also think about the direction in which I want to take my life, I want to live a life that, number one, I share, because sharing is caring. I live to make an impact on contact, and I live to inspire others from within, just as you did. And that would not be history repeating itself. That would be me taking what you did and looking at it and saying, I want to take it to another level. I want to become someone just like you, as opposed to all the other images that are out there. And so I thank you. I wish you the best. I wish you nothing but success as you continue to develop and build out the rest of your legacy. And congratulations on all the things that you've done. And I appreciate you. Love you. Take care.
Welcome to this presentation of the John Wesley Fellow Award. Will become a member of the Society of John Wesley. The Society of John Wesley is a fellowship of individuals committed to the support and expansion of United Methodist Men's Ministries. Fellows in the Society of John Wesley are known by their witness, vision, and stewardship that enhances and strengthens the mission and ministry of the church. The society was created by United Methodist Men Foundation to promote greater awareness of the Christian principles and practices embodied in the church. Established in 1982 by the directors of the United Methodist Men Foundation, the Society of John Wesley is a means of recognizing those who exemplify the characteristics of John Wesley. These characteristics are best seen through the service to fellow men and women and commitment to the teachings of the Christian faith. John Wesley called together such people to form the Holy Club. These men with various talents and skills contributed to the rapid growth and spiritual enrichment of the early Methodist Church. Today, Reginald Grant, the Cal Pacific United Methodist Men's president, will be presenting the award. It's very fitting that this award is presented since he is a legend, and especially a legend in bringing more justice to those who have been oppressed for so long. And his battle is not over, nor is our battle as United Methodist men in dealing with racism. But today, drawing Black History Month, I invite you to see this presentation and learn a little bit about the wonderful achievement as accomplished in his life. God bless each and every one of you.
My name is Cliff Pierre, and I would like to give a special tribute to Reverend James Lawson. He is receiving an incredible award today from the United Methodist Men for his lifetime of achievements during the Civil Rights Movement, working with Martin Luther King, training some of the most influential civil rights leaders, and also just getting to work with some of the greats. I would like to just give you a special thank you. The world has acknowledged everything that you've done. The Black community has acknowledged everything that you've done. And without you, we have no idea where we would be today with all the things that you've contributed to the efforts. And it's important just to kind of stop and say thank you. And this is my moment, and this is my gratitude of saying thank you, and all of the things that you've done, and really shaping the path for the future generations. Yes, there's still a long way to go. So with everything that you've done, have kind of laid the foundation and laid the groundwork. Now it's kind of our time to kind of just take the take everything that you've done and just continue on with it. So you are kind of passing us on, and your legacy, you will never be forgotten. You will always be remembered. And I'm just honored to make this video and say thank you. Thank you to the United Methodist Men for celebrating and honoring another legend in American history, and just honoring another legend that fought for the underserved and fought for the people that's voice may have been unheard or misrepresented. Whatever it is, we just want to say thank you. And I hope you are enjoying this wonderful Sunday, and thank you so much for everything that you've done. My name is Cliff Pierre, and I will look forward to more, and I look forward to how we're going to continue shaping the world for future generations, not only my generation, but for future generations long after I leave this planet. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon. My name is Paulette Simpson Gibson. I am the president of the Compton NAACP. Reverend Lawson, it gives us great honor and privilege to be able to congratulate you and salute you. You are a tireless and fierce fighter for justice and equality. Your commitment of a lifetime has benefited not just our community, but mankind as a whole. Your commitment to nonviolence protests has paved the way for so many of us. We salute you because we stand on your shoulders, and we're able to fight this fight of civil rights because of leaders like you, who've dedicated their life to making a difference for Black people. And so it is our honor to serve you, to honor you, to recognize you, and to lift you up, because we know that God is pleased with his servant, and because of your work, we have come a long ways, but we still have a long way to go. God bless you and God keep you. We love you, Reverend Lawson, the Compton NAACP.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm David Sumner. I'm speaking to you from Indiana, near Indianapolis, where we have a beautiful sunny day, but it's 25 degrees and we have snow on the ground. So not that great. Before I get started, I want to show you a little souvenir that I brought back from Los Angeles in 2015. It says LA Police Department visitor June 24th, 2015. Luckily, I was a voluntary visit to the police department, or more appropriately, City Hall, where I went up on the 27th floor observation deck with my wife and her cousin. So I was not involuntary visitor. But I'm going to be talking today about the Nashville sit-ins in 1960, where hundreds of students, as well as Reverend James Lawson's, were involuntary visitors to the Nashville Police Department and its jail. The Nashville student movement, as these sit-ins became known, are widely cited in the civil rights literature because of its early success, their strict adherence to nonviolence, and the disproportionate number of leaders it produced for the later civil rights movement. Among the most notable, besides James Lawson, was John Lewis, the Atlanta congressman who died last July. Although dozens of articles have been written about the Nashville movement, the most notable is the book, The Children, written by Pulitzer Prize-winning David Halberstam. When Martin Luther King visited Nashville in April of that year, he praised the Nashville movement as the best organized and most disciplined in the South, and said that the students had a better understanding of the philosophy of nonviolence than any other group. In 1958, James Lawson returned home from Ohio from India, where he had been a Methodist missionary teaching at a missionary college in Nagpur, India. He was a member of the Fellowship of Reconciliation, which is an international Christian organization emphasizing pacifism and nonviolence. After he returned home, he met King at a conference, and Dr. King suggested that he move to Nashville, where he thought that Lawson could provide some leadership to the emerging civil rights movement. And so he came as a Southern representative of the Fellowship of Reconciliation. After he came, he met and married his wife, and he enrolled at Vanderbilt Divinity School. Nashville had long billed itself as the Athens of itself because of its 4 colleges and universities, which included 4 predominantly Black institutions: American Baptist Seminary, Meharry Medical College, Fisk University, and Tennessee A&I, which later became Tennessee State. Now, department stores in the 60s in the South and elsewhere typically had lunch counters where they served coffee and drinks and sandwiches. And so, although the students provided plenty of business for these downtown stores, they had no place they could eat when they came to shop. So in 1959, Mr. Lawson began teaching a series of workshops on nonviolence, and he invited students from these 4 schools to attend these workshops, and they were held at Clark Memorial Methodist Church. These workshops began with a few students, maybe a dozen, and they grew to more than 100 before the end of the year. The students in November and December of 1959, they had held a couple of test demonstrations to see or to establish the fact that they probably would not be served at the lunch counters. And they did that. They had the sit-ins, they were declined service, and so they sat at the stores for a couple hours until they closed. The very first sit-in demonstration in the nation occurred in Greensboro, North Carolina on February 1st of 1960, when 4 students from North Carolina A&T came downtown to the department store, Woolworth's department store, bought some items, sat at the lunch counter and asked for coffee, and they were refused. So they sat there for half an hour or so until the store closed. At this time, Douglas Moore, Reverend Douglas Moore, who was a friend of James Lawson, called him and asked him if he could have a show of support for the Greensboro students from the Nashville students. And so 2 weeks later, the Nashville students went into action. On February 13th, 124 students, including 34 white supporters, walked downtown and into Woolworth's, Cress's, and McClellan's stores and asked to be served at the lunch counters. They were dressed in shirts and ties. The men were dressed in shirts and ties, and the women wore their best dresses. Although they were refused service, they sat for 2 hours reading books, talking quietly, and doing their schoolwork. Lawson provided mimeograph instructions for the students, which were written by John Lewis, that included these directives. Do show yourself friendly at the counter at all times. Do sit straight and always face the counter. Do remember the teachings of Jesus Christ, Gandhi, and Martin Luther King. Don't strike back or curse if attacked. Don't laugh out loud. Don't leave your seat until your leader has given you permission. Don't block entrances to the stores and the videos. And finally, remember love and violence, and may God bless, remember love and nonviolence, and may God bless each of you. And so thus began the series of sit-ins motivated by Lawson's workshops and leadership that lasted through May of that year. The 4th sit-in, here's a photo I wanted to show you. that gives you kind of an idea. Let me see if I can get that focus right. Gives you a little idea, and I think that was actually the second or third sit-in in Nashville. This was included in an article in the Tennessee Historical Quarterly that I wrote about the sit-ins. And so this began a series of sit-ins. The fourth sit-in on February 22nd attracted more than 400 participants, but they marked the first arrest in violence. Although the students were committed to nonviolence, the onlookers were not. They blew smoke in their faces, put out cigars in their hair, and called them names. So during the next several weeks, many students were tried and convicted on disorderly conduct or disturbing the peace charges. And most went to jail instead of paying the bond or posting fines, although the city's Black community rallied behind them and raised money for fines and legal support. After a demonstration on March 1st, James Lawson had a heated exchange with Mayor Ben West, who was generally seen as a moderate on race issues. But he said that the students could not break the law, or should not break the law. He can't find, and Lawson told him, quote, "You can't have a public store 1 minute and a private store the next. The law has been used as a gimmick. The students have decided they can do no other than violate the law and remain on the premises of the stores when the law is used to crush the rights of our people." Now, I should say there were no laws, no city or state laws at the time requiring segregated eating facilities, although it was it's just the custom. So the next day, the Nashville Banner published a story with the headline, "Leader says he will advise students to violate the law." And actually, here's a copy of that story, which, let's see if I can get, there you go, from the Nashville Banner. And other stories, other newspapers, the Nashville Tennessean and newspapers in other cities didn't report that statement, and James Lawson steadfastly denied making it. He told reporters, quote, "Under no circumstances have I ever made, or what will I make, the categorical statements that students should violate the law. Those are not my words. Defiant violation of the law is a contradiction of my entire understanding and loyalty to Christian nonviolence." However, the Banner's publisher was James G. Stallman, a wealthy racist who was also a member of Vanderbilt's Board of Trustees and a donor, of course. This inaccurate headline initiated a series of events that led to Lawson's expulsion from Vanderbilt Divinity School. And it was facilitated by pressure from Mr. Stallman and weak, vacillating leadership from the Chancellor, Harvey Branscombe, and the Divinity School Dean. The next day, Nashville police came into the church where the sit-ins were being planned and arrested Lawson on the charge of conspiracy to disrupt commerce. A newspaper photographer captured a shot of the white police officers pulling Lawson from the church with the church sign in the foreground bearing Sunday's sermon title, "Father, Forgive Them." And I'm going to share that on my screen. I have that photo. There it is. That's a copy of not a great copy, but it's a copy, a scanned copy of the newspaper photo. And it speaks for itself. The Banner continued to blast James Lawson's in its editorials. They called him a out-of-town agitator and a ringleader of the sit-ins. However, his expulsion brought nationwide publicity from the New York Times, Time Magazine, CBS, NBC, and the wire services. 4 Black and 12 white Divinity School students withdrew in protest. 3 graduates returned their diplomas, and 11 faculty members submitted their resignations. And Lawson soon received scholarship offers from several other seminaries, and he accepted the offer from Boston University School of Theology, where he graduated the next year. However, after 2 weeks of negotiation in late April and early May, between the students and the merchants, The Nashville movement finally succeeded in May when all of the downtown stores peacefully integrated their lunch counters. The Nashville sit-ins were included in the 6-part PBS series in 1986, Eyes on the Prize, which I mentioned earlier. It's also where I got the idea for this dissertation. Every book on the history of the civil rights movement I read has praised the Nashville sit-ins and James Lawson's leadership. These events of 1960 were just the beginning of the Reverend James Lawson notable leadership in moving the nations toward racial justice and equality. Thank you very much. I've been honored to be a part of this commemoration.
Now, I was asked to say a few things in honor of the Reverend Dr. James Lawson, the strategist, the activist, the catalyst, and dare I say, even the evangelist of change. Now, my name is John Matthews. I am the CEO and founder of Pothemos Innovation. I'm the creator of the eBless giving platform for churches. But it's because of the work of you, Reverend Lawson, and people who stood with you in the open theater movement, the Selma voting rights movement, the Chicago freedom movement, the March on Washington, and countless others, that I can stand here freely, that I can dream. I stand and walk in the footprints of this mighty man of valor, with the courage like Gideon, when he heard that the enemy had heard his name and knew the power behind it, and their unwavering determination like Jacob when he wrestled with the angel of the Lord, saying, I won't let go until you bless me. Well, Reverend Lawson, I say to you that I won't let go your legacy because you have blessed me and so many others. Thank you so much for your service, for your sacrifice. My company, my community, my family is forever indebted to you. Thank you, Reverend Lawson. And I don't know of anyone more deserving of this honor. From the eBless team, we bless you, mighty man of God.
On behalf of the United Methodist Men Foundation, I congratulate you, James M. Lawson, upon your induction into the Society of John Wesley. On this day, you are part of a society whose members exemplify the spirit of John Wesley, the founder of Methodism. The society includes 2 U.S. presidents, bishops, educators, and world-renowned evangelists such as you. You are also joined in spirit by the early members of Wesley's Holy Club, who engage in discipled, Bible study, prayer, and words of mercy. Members were dubbed Methodists for their emphasis on methodological study and devotion. Wesley lived modestly and gave generously to the poor. He provided spiritual guidance, food, and clothing to people in prisons. And, although it was unpopular at the time, he spoke out against slavery. Today, we recognize you, the Reverend James M. Lawson, as a person with the same desire as Wesley to engage in acts of mercy, to speak out of your Christian convictions, and to continue your pilgrimage towards spiritual perfection. Wesley transformed a damaged London foundry into a school for children, a place for worship, and a base for helping the poor. In the same spirit, members of the Society of John Wesley are recognized for their role in changing communities into places of transforming love. Your friends and colleagues have engaged this presentation by offering financial gifts to support prayer, scouting, and men's ministries around the world. Those gifts to the United Methodist Men Foundation will support these efforts for decades to come. It is my honor to present you with this embossed plaque and a label pen to recognize you as a member of the John Wesley Society. Congratulations, Reverend Lawson.
I was born by the river in a little tent, oh, just like the river I've been running ever since. It's been a long time coming, but I know change gonna come. Oh, yes it will. It's been too hard living. I'm not afraid to die, 'cause I know who lies beyond the sky. It's been a long time coming, but I know change gonna come. Oh, yes it will. I go to the movies and I go downtown.
Make no mistake, I am firmly entrenched in the notion that the religion of Jesus is a primary need of the human race, not in a institutionalized fashion, but in a biblical, moral, missional fashion. It is Jesus who it is Jesus who says in the 5th chapter of Matthew to a multitude of people, according to the scripture, people who've come from all the surrounding region, predominantly Jewish, but there are all kinds of people there because that part of the world is a crossroads of humanity. And it is to those people that Jesus says, you are the salt of the earth and you are the light of the world. And in that same section of the book of Matthew, Jesus also insists, if you only love your neighbor and your family, what more are you doing than others? That's the passage where Jesus says, you have heard it said of old, love your neighbor and hate your enemy. I say unto you, do not violently resist the evil one. Do not seek to overcome evil with evil. Overcome evil with good. That's a critical message. We, the people of the USA, have perhaps heard those scriptures read often, but we've never followed it. The Declaration of Independence, its preamble, is for me a miracle of human history, because those folk in a world of tyranny and engaged in already taking over this land from the indigenous people, nevertheless wrote, we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all are created equal, and that all are endowed with certain unalienable rights. Among these, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And the problem in the United States in this present moment can loosely and generally be said that we have a people who have never, we the people of the USA, have never, as a people with a sizable consensus, affirmed We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all are created equal, that all are endowed by the Creator with certain unalienable rights. That creed that was supposed to be the founding of this country has never developed a national ethos among us. And the present moment is but one major, fragile but dangerous moment when that spiritual political theme is desperately needed. So I've preached long enough now, Reginald, so.
It's gonna be okay. Reason why I know, because I've been there where you are. It's gonna be okay. No matter how bad it looks, no matter what people say, trust me, it's gonna be okay.